Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Hey, George, question for you. Is
Dude.
it who you are underneath, or is it what you do that defines you?
No, fuck no. It's what you do.
You in particular. Just George.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I thought it was, I'm not wearing underwear.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
I suck at voices. I should not try to do that.
Swear to me. Swear to me.
Oh, that's a good line. We watched 2005's Batman Begins. George, you had seen this before, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But uneducated.
But yes, as an uneducated, ignorant person, now having gone through a significant chunk of the Remedial film class, you should have seen more this time around and appreciated it as the rest of us did back low in 2005. Guys, that was 17 years ago.
Holy shit. That kid, what did I say? He was 15? He's like in his 20s.
Yeah, when you said, I let it go when you said that. You were like, oh, he's probably like 15 now. I'm like,
I said 15 or 20, but now,
yeah,
God,
I think
it's been 17 years?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that kid's probably married and got a family.
Yeah, he could be, yeah.
You guys spent a lot of time talking about that kid.
Well, I kind of felt like I recognized the kid. I'm like, what else is he in? And he's like, I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know.
Isn't he in Game of Thrones?
Is he? No, not the little blonde hair kid. The kid who played young Bruce.
Oh.
Yeah, the little blonde hair kid is on Game of Thrones.
Who's the little blonde haired kid?
The kid.
Oh, yeah.
The
Never
kid
mind.
he gives his gadget to.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, young Bruce. I thought I recognized from something else, but he's like, no, I don't know what else was in.
I'm sure he's been in stuff, but
I think he was on Sesame Street or something. I don't know.
Gilmore Girls, maybe.
Yeah, Seventh Heaven.
When I see their happy faces,
Touched by an angel.
smiling back at me.
Friends.
Seventh Heaven.
Touched by a seventh heaven.
Oh, shoot.
Wait, you can't say that.
Touched by a friends?
Touched by friends.
I don't know. Let's just keep going.
Oh, let's not. Hey.
At least we know that all three of us like this movie.
Oh, wait. You guys
might be
like this
surprised.
movie?
I don't know. I was excited to do this because I assumed we would. There's going to be no surprises. But then again, George is not drinking. So.
I have one big problem.
I have one little problem.
I have one big problem. But that's it.
Okay.
Let's air your grievances up front so we can talk about how great this movie is.
How does the microwave emitter evaporate all the water in the pipes and not the 70% of water that you are made from?
Right.
Well, you see, they explain in the movie that it's directed microwaves.
Oh, I know why.
What?
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it seemed to be, my answer was for why it wasn't affecting the water in the bodies with the hallucinogen. I'm like, well, unless they ingested it through the drinking water, then it would be affecting their body from the inside. But I wasn't thinking the actual water in their body evaporating.
Yeah, I mean, if you put a microwave emitter, everyone close to it would just bake from the inside and die.
They would
Get Nolan on
probably
the phone.
pop like balloons.
Yeah, I like the way they
like
pop.
a marshmallow.
That would be actually a pretty entertaining short, like one of those.
It would be effective,
like the Our RoboCop remake. Just one of those of Batman Begins, where just everybody pops like popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
or at
pretty
least
fun.
dehydrates, like they all become the Alec Baldwin character in Beetlejuice at the wedding scene.
I never saw Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay. Where
Wait,
they just
what?
Get completely
Hold
dehydrated.
on, back up. You haven't seen Beetlejuice? I thought that was one that you
That's a
had
drop.
seen. Oh,
You
Wait,
have not
say
seen
what?
Beetlejuice? You have not seen Beetlejuice?
We've
No,
now
I've
said
seen-
it too many times. We were
When
all
I
doomed.
was younger.
Actually, the CDC
Younger.
came out this week and said you can say Beetlejuice like as many times as you want now.
Right, as long as you're wearing a mask.
You have to quarantine for 5 days.
Learn to
after
throw your
saying
voice. Fool your friends. Fun at
Beetlejuice.
parties.
I can't believe
Okay.
you've never seen it.
Nice fucking
No.
model.
Nice fucking model.
Honk.
I wish
Hey, we shop at the same store.
I wish I knew what the fuck you guys were talking
Oh my
about.
god.
I wish you did too.
I'm a professional here.
Oh, you're
I
in
wonder
for a
where
treat.
average Joe that's myself could get a little action.
All right. Well, put that on the list.
Holy
Yes, we're
crap.
putting that
Yeah,
shit on the
okay.
list.
Just, yeah.
Sandworms. You hate them. I hate them.
I can't believe.
How do you get them down so small? Hey, look, it's the king.
Like, I can't believe there's
It was
so many.
Dude, it was on the TV when I was like a kid, and like I remember seeing the scenes, like I remember what it looked like,
Mhm.
but I never watched it. I don't know.
Well, this is the best
Yeah.
news we could have had that I get to watch
We're-
Beetlejuice soon.
We're doing a Pee-wee's Big Adventure Beetlejuice twofer. I
Oh, yeah.
think.
No, we're going to go
Yeah,
all
it's-
Burton for a minute. That's going to be great.
Very good.
So stay tuned,
Oh.
everybody.
Yeah.
And Dan can show us which French movie it was inspired by.
Yeah, Beetlejuice was inspired by some 1973
That'll be fun.
chick flick from Guam. From down under. Ay, vey. Argentina, maybe.
I do like
So-
the idea
so
of
Batman.
popcorn bad guys. Just pop, 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 blood everywhere. It'd be great.
Hmm.
Vaporized
Oh, did you
blood?
notice that none of Ra's al Ghul's guys were affected by it because they were wearing their masks?
Yes.
There was
they
some
were.
very effective masking
were
and some
very-
vaccinations that really
They were
worked.
ahead of the game.
Yep, there was
Vaccines. This
vaccine.
movie's all about vaccines
Yo,
and masks.
they should have put Morgan Freeman on the COVID vaccine a couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Absolutely.
How quickly can you manufacture this? I don't know, a couple weeks.
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks. Get it out there, bro.
Put him in charge.
But-
Put him in charge.
Why don't you put him in charge?
Those things running around, you count me out.
Game over, man.
Wow, this is an Uber referenced episode. We're just gonna
Hey.
just throw them out there.
That's a movie I've seen.
This is true.
Aliens.
With an S
With an S.
and a dollar sign from the story I read this week about James Cameron pitching it to the executives.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
was
I
right.
read something about when Nolan pitched this movie. He had a 15-minute pitch, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this." Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's do this. And I found out that Schumacher had a fourth movie in the works,
Oh, yeah?
and it was going to be a return of the Joker. It was going to have the
Mhm.
Catwoman Penguin somehow, and then it was going to have Nicolas Cage as the Scarecrow.
Oof.
How do you feel about that, Dan?
I mean, the fact that we prevented any further war crimes by not allowing Joel Schumacher anywhere near this franchise again makes me
True.
feel good about our country.
But how do you like that casting? Like, would you cast Nicolas Cage as the Scarecrow?
I
No,
don't know that
fuck
I would
no.
ever voluntarily cast Nicolas Cage
For
in
anything.
anything based on like an existing IP.
I always saw like a Jeff Goldblum playing the Scarecrow.
I mean, that could
Uh,
work. And really, Nicolas
yeah.
Cage would be fine. Did you guys ever see a movie called Kick-Ass?
Yeah.
Because Nicolas
No.
Cage took that movie
It's
and
awesome.
owned
Yes.
it. Like,
Yes.
so he can do it. He could do it. If he took it seriously, if they made him, a character study that he was interested in, I think he could have nailed it.
It was a resolution. It's a constitution.
So that's
We
the
have
thing
to
that
steal the
bothered you.
Constitution.
Right, the Constitution.
So the
Is it
only problem you had
kapa-
with the entire movie was that it was completely physically impossible that the weapon work in the way that it needed to make the thing go.
But he
That
dropped
was-
all that and he just watched the movie.
That was my this time around, because I didn't even realize that the last 3 times I watched this
Mm.
movie, because I watched this movie a bunch. I like this movie. And this time watching it, I was like kind of, I don't know, I guess I was being more critical or like paying more attention. And I'm like, wait, what the? There's water.
Hold
There's
up.
water everywhere.
Yeah.
All kinds of water that's not being affected right now. The river, when I crossed the river, it should have been like steaming up.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
The air.
Yes.
I mean, it's-
Everywhere,
it's
bro.
a pretty dank city. I mean, it's very
Everywhere, dude. When
There's dew.
Bruce Wayne got thrown out of the bar,
Hmm.
like what's his
Just
name,
puddles.
Falcone was, dude, like right into a puddle. Fucking
Yeah.
puddles everywhere.
puddles everywhere.
It hasn't rained in 3 days. Still puddles down there,
You don't fear.
everywhere.
You fear what you don't understand.
It's true.
Love
It's
that.
like already
This is a
a
good
heavy
line.
enough movie in terms of like running time. I don't know if you noticed, George, but this one's a little long compared to what we
Mm.
normally watch.
I did notice. Yeah.
So you really don't have time to do this, but what I would love to have explored as like a side story would be any normal Gothamite in like the week leading up to this big event who's boiling some pasta and just freaks the fuck out. Just have a series of unexplained freakouts where they just can't figure out why people are boiling water and
you're
then losing their
absolutely right.
minds.
No one was boiling pasta in this time?
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
You're absolutely right.
That would have been good. Like, and they could have really fit that in the story. Like, they could have maybe put it on the news that people were having these hallucinations.
Steam in the shower.
Yeah.
There's steam everywhere.
Yeah.
Where water turns to vapor.
And you could have
basically.
even done like a Batman 89 like news report where nobody showers because showers are making people go crazy.
Dude, that's a great idea for a short.
Yeah.
One of our fans should do that.
Come on, fans.
Maybe Kevin Smith can do it.
Maybe Kevin Smith. We'll call it butt work.
No, we'll call it bat work.
Buttman.
Bat work. Yes.
Bat work. Hey, kids. Man.
Shoot.
All right, let's talk about this movie.
So this movie is pretty good. We all like it. So that's weird. We usually don't all like it. I don't know that I have any major concerns with it besides the microwave thing and the fact that like Bruce is like, I don't want to kill people, so I'm going to kill 50 of you right now. I used to have trouble with that. I think I've come around to that.
When did he kill 50 people?
It's all Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, the Ra's al Ghul guys. He's
But
like,
he
I'm
didn't
not going to
really-
kill this guy. I'm going to kill all of you.
Yeah, but he doesn't technically. Like he said, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you. At the end of the movie, he says that.
Well, I mean, you could argue then that like I'm going to point a firearm at you and fire it, and I don't have to save you from the bullet.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't have to catch this bullet.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude won't commit to stealing. He fake steals all his own stuff, but blowing up a bunch of bad guys to death, totally cool with it.
I don't know.
Here's the thing, though. Here's how I am justifying it to myself tonight, because I have for, 17 years not liked that scene. But I think the way I'm going to justify it to myself now, as a critical, gotta apologize for all the Batman stuff guy.
Mm-hmm. You have to. Yep.
I'm going to say that
like...
if they don't threaten Gotham, he saves the guy. But because they threaten Gotham in this conversation, that he's actually saving Gotham, at least trying to, by taking all the guys out.
Right.
But he just has this emotional connection to Henry Ducard, so he saves him.
I'm wondering if that doesn't really apply to early Batman, because he really didn't adopt that not killing anybody. Yeah, he says, I'm not going to be this guy's executioner.
Right.
But in the end, defense of yourself is different than execution.
True. That's true.
So,
killing someone in defense is much, much different than killing someone in the name of justice.
Right.
Or like you said, as an
But that guy totally doesn't get out of the building, though.
That guy?
The guy who he wasn't going to kill doesn't get out of the building.
They never show him.
He runs off frame, but I mean, come on. Blows up the whole building.
True.
Everybody dies. It's interesting. It's
Only
not
the one section blew up.
It's interesting because you always have this thing where the movie Batman is always a bit more willing to kill than the comic book Batman, unless it's one of those Elseworlds. We don't need to get too like, well, actually in Batman #1, he still carried a gun for like 3 frames, but then they decided that was too dangerous for the comics code. We don't need to get too deep into that.
No, but I think with this trilogy, it works because it's a development of the character, and maybe in the very beginning, that code was not fully ingrained in him, as opposed to in the second one when he's like, I have one rule, and he's like, I'm gonna make you break that one rule. Like, it's established that this is my rule.
Wait,
I'm not
that
gonna
happens
kill.
in the second one?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Spoiler alert.
I've seen that one already
You've
too.
seen it. That's why I said it. But he's more established as his code of honor, as opposed to in the very beginning he's just trying to save his own life. And
he did say, I mean, that became his code at that scene.
But they get around it by saying executioner.
When he refused to be the executioner. Actually, when was it? What scene was it when I'm gonna call him Ra's al Ghul, but
Liam Neeson.
yeah, Liam Neeson. When Liam Neeson said that, it's your compassion that is your weakness or whatever, and then Bruce says that's what separates us. Right.
But he's not saying separates us, meaning him and Ra's al Ghul.
No,
He's saying me from the criminals.
From the criminals,
right.
Yes. But that's when he established that code.
Right.
And the blowing up 50 dudes scene definitely happens after that.
Actually, he really establishes it when Chill gets killed.
Right, but that happens after in the movie, but yeah. So timeline stuff. Because that
who gets
killed? No, when he decides he's going to shoot Joe Chill.
The events of that happen after.
No.
He
leaves and goes away.
Chronologically, this is the problem with timelines. Chronologically prior to his time in Asia, but in the movie, it appears in the movie after the explosion.
Right, but it did happen prior.
So he would have
to the explosion.
Yes, he would have already established his "I don't shoot people" code before he got into
left.
the criminal underground.
Right.
By stealing his own stuff, which is pretty clever. I still like that device.
Yeah, that was cool. Oh, it was funny.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the cast. I felt every time another character came on the screen, I had the same thought. Well, that was perfectly casted.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Even like the bit parts.
I wasn't paying as much attention to the bit parts.
Just the little, like all the henchmen.
Like for example, like you have, what the hell's Alfred's name?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Okay,
Yeah.
You know me. I don't know these people.
He's been in a few movies.
Well, yeah, I know him. I know his face. He's perfect.
Right.
He's perfect. Morgan Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
As always.
The dude who played Scarecrow.
Cillian Murphy, who you know him. He was in a movie we watched.
What was he in?
28 Days Later.
Yeah, he was.
He's the main dude.
He's the main character.
Yeah.
You've seen that man's balls.
He's that guy's brilliant.
I was going to say I don't know him from anything else, but I do.
Yes.
But he's not Morgan Freeman. He's not a huge
he's
been in everything actor.
But wasn't he just in what was the one, the DiCaprio movie he was in? Was it Wall Street?
I don't know.
Of Wall Street?
Whatever it was, he was the perfect choice for the Scarecrow.
And I was angry when this movie came out. I was like, oh, I had a thought of who should play that character. Should be like almost like an Ichabod Crane kind of character.
He kind of was.
Yeah, but I mean like tall and lanky, like a Howard Stern body make. Just overly tall and awkward and just goofy, creepy.
Someone who looks more like a Scarecrow,
like a Slender Man kind of body type, and then like a very characterized face. He looks like a normal guy, but his delivery of lines, his facial expressions, and when he changes, when he becomes it just like every other Batman character, it's a broken psyche. So you see the switch, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
But it's subtle. It's not like a Jim Carrey Riddler where it's like, what? Like he goes to 11. This guy is every character in this movie is very subdued. Even the cliche mobster is still subdued. Like he's playing it straight. And that's what I love about this movie.
Should be noted that Cillian Murphy was up for the Batman role at one point.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool.
No word. No, he's perfect as a Scarecrow. Perfect.
Yes.
What do you think about Christian Bale?
Attitude is great too.
How does Christian Bale do compared to Michael Keaton? Watch your mouth, by the way.
Treading on ground.
I think he did the character justice. I think he did a good job.
This might be where I say, well, what is my favorite part of this movie? That it is a Bruce Wayne story.
The first one.
Before it's a Batman story.
Mm-hmm.
Before it's like we've always been kind of shown villain movies. Like every Batman movie's been about the villains and they develop and they overdevelop. But we were always programmed to, all right, yeah, that's Bruce Wayne. Let's get to the bat. Let's get to the suit.
Oh, yes.
And this movie totally negates all that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And you know how the past couple of movies I took a timestamp when we had a plot.
Yes.
Like I stopped it and I was, okay, 45 minutes in, we have a plot now. I didn't do that with this movie.
Because the whole movie's a plot.
No. Well, no, the first hour of the movie really is just development.
Yeah.
Right?
Which was the case with the other movies that you said that, but
which all no, it wasn't.
But this they didn't do as well because they weren't.
Porky's was terrible.
But they weren't great filmmakers
movie,
like Nolan, is what I'm saying. Like they all tried to do what he did successfully.
Yes. But the plot here came in bits and pieces, and you had to put those bits and pieces together. And by the time you realized that there was a plot, the plot was there the whole time.
Yes.
And you're like, oh shit. Yeah. I couldn't take a timestamp because by the time I realized there was a plot, I'm like, oh, that happened an hour ago.
It happens from moment one.
Yeah, from the prison cell scene with Liam Neeson. That is where a plot starts, technically.
Yeah.
And there's development, a lot of development for the next hour, but when he comes back, it's like, oh, the whole movie was plot, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Fear.
Yep.
Because if you think about fear creates every situation. Like even the death of Bruce's father and mother is done out of fear. Like Chill doesn't kill them because he's malicious. He actually kills them it's like a fear reaction to the situation. Like he's scared. Chill is scared. He's not menacing. He's not pointing a gun in his head and like, put the shit in the bag.
Yeah.
You know, give me the keys, motherfucker. Like, he doesn't.
Give me the keys, you fucking cocksucker, motherfucker.
It's when he shoots his father, it's a reactive fear.
He's more
situation.
Like, give me the keys, you cocksucker. What the fuck?
But everybody's created, like Bruce creates his persona through fear. Obviously, Crane creates his persona through fear.
Yep.
And then the dad is killed because of the situation. The criminal's in like a fearful situation, and they make it look like he accidentally shoots him
at first, and
and even the mother, like they do it just in the shadows enough to where you can't really tell if he didn't aim at her. It was almost like he was trying to grab the pearls, and then it was almost like the gun went off, as opposed to like aiming it at both of them and shooting them, which is good because it kind of makes it even more tragic. Because even Chill is kind of a victim, in a way. He's a victim of his circumstance. He's a victim of his choices based on his situation, as opposed to going into the alley like when they went to go after Rachel.
Yeah.
He wasn't sent there to kill anybody. He was basically out of desperation.
So to the average viewer, I suppose you could view it like that. But I know too much about guns.
Guns.
Well, that's the way it's played.
With that gun, it's like literally, if you cock it, yes, the trigger, it can be very sensitive.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't,
it's hard to pull that trigger.
It's like a 17-pound trigger. It's not easy to pull.
Well, we don't know if it was cocked or not.
And it went off twice. The first one could have been an accident if it was cocked. The second one could not have been an accident. It was too fast. He wouldn't have fired it by accident and then immediately cocked it.
They did it right.
It has to be intentional.
They did it right because the first one clearly looks like an accident.
Well, maybe not an accident. Maybe a panic, right? Like,
yes.
It's not that he's... Oops, oh my gosh, I can't believe the gun went off. It's more like, oh god, bam, oh no.
Yeah.
Right? That's panic. Yeah. That's fear, but it's not accident. It's just...
Yeah, it had to be, because two shots went off, I felt like it had to be intentional. Right. The first one could have been, like you said, panic, but the second one had to be intentional.
And you can panic without... You can panic and still shoot people on purpose, right? To get out of the situation.
Absolutely, yes.
What do you think, George, about how Nolan and company create this like perfectly enclosed circle of plot where from moment one, they're telling you that it's going to be the League of Shadows destroying Gotham with or without Bruce's help. And at the end of the movie, it is the League of Shadows destroying Gotham with or without Bruce's help. Like, they put all their cards on the table and don't really add anything to the mix. And yet they still sustain it for 2.5 hours. And they bring it into a close not by changing any of the game from what they tell you in the first 20 minutes, but instead by misdirecting you as to people's identities and motivations. Isn't that interesting? I'm surprised it works.
Well, and misdirection is one of the things that he says when he's training him.
It's a very powerful tool. Misdirection.
What's funny
and
is
theatrics too.
You're right. The
which were both used.
The hallucinogen, the effect that they used when filming it, it's clear that it's the same flower. So you almost have to sit there, like the first time someone is sprayed by the Scarecrow, you almost should have said, "Oh wow, he's working with Ra's al Ghul," because he clearly has the flower.
You should have,
but they do it in just a way that you're so caught up in everything else going on that you're not sitting there going, "Now this guy, and this and that."
Well, Ra's al Ghul is dead, so I don't see how he could be working with him.
Well,
I
League
saw
of
him
Shadows.
die.
Let's put it that way. You could say League of Shadows. That's the same stuff that he was inhaling just 35 minutes ago. Like,
right?
It's they didn't alter it enough to where you would go, "Oh my god, that's weird." How, you should watch that and go, "That looks exactly like what he was inhaling." So they were basically, like he said, showing their cards very early, and they didn't really care.
Yeah,
but it's really interesting because by showing your cards, none of it feels like a cheat.
Right.
Except for maybe to a first-time viewer who's not familiar with the character, being like, "Wait a minute, but Ra's al Ghul's already dead. That's not Ra's al Ghul. I've seen him die."
Right.
You're like, "Oh, he said what I was thinking," because that's pretty much exactly what Bruce says to the guy.
That is a good misdirection because everybody who's a fan of Batman knows that Ra's al Ghul is of Asian descent. So, seeing the character who played Ra's al Ghul in the beginning, it's a misdirection, definitely, and they do it well enough to, because you're not going to think that Liam Neeson is Ra's al Ghul because he's obviously not of Asian descent.
Well, see, I didn't get hung up on that. See, when I was in the theater back as a uber Batman fan, super excited to see this movie. Wife skipped class. It was a summer semester. She skipped class to come with me as my girlfriend back when we were first dating.
Nice.
It worked out.
And you put a ring on it.
I did. I put a...
He liked it, so he put a ring on it.
Oh. Hey, so I'm sitting there in the theater, and the whole time I'm thinking, Henry Ducard is an actual established comic book character. Not a super popular one, but one I was able to look up his stuff before the movie came out, so I was on the level. But boy, that goatee sure looks like Ra's al Ghul from the cartoon. So the whole time I'm thinking man, that's really interesting that they went way in a different direction with Ra's al Ghul. But
didn't they cover their asses on that by giving everybody that goatee?
Well, that's the thing. That whole group,
I think
they've all got
everybody in that
goatees
temple
and
had
stuff. That. They do a good job of mixing it up to where when they reveal it, you're just like, yeah, he is. All right.
Well, Liam Neeson wasn't Ra's al Ghul, right?
Oh, no, he totally was.
No, he was.
But
the whole time.
the Ra's al Ghul.
Yes.
He is the Ra's al Ghul.
I thought Ra's al Ghul was like
Tommy Jason?
An idea.
An idea?
Ra's al Ghul is whoever is running the show at the League of Shadows.
No.
That is how I interpreted it.
Ra's al Ghul is the one who's running the show, and in this case, it's Liam Neeson. But
I'm saying whoever is running the show for the League of Shadows, because the League of Shadows has been around for a long time.
But so has Ra's al Ghul.
Well, right, and that's where it gets tricky. But yeah, so right now, Liam Neeson is working as the head of the League of Shadows. So he is the Ra's al Ghul. He's the demon's head. However, in public, right, in the world, he exists under a pseudonym and has someone else stand in as the standard bearer, who is just disposable meat to get killed by bad guys.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Nolan and Goyer both chose to keep this realistic.
Thank God.
So they couldn't get into the, the Lazarus Pit and all that stuff that is very involved in that comic book of.
Are you aware of any of that
storyline?
No,
all right,
I'm not.
so Ra's al Ghul is kind of like the Dalai Lama, where it's a passed down thing, but it's also the Lazarus Pit kind of keeps him young. So you really don't know how old he is.
So it is the same person, or supposedly.
In the comic book and in the cartoon, which the cartoon came at a time that like Ra's al Ghul was like 10 or 12 years old in the comics, and so he really kind of came to prominence in the cartoon.
Yes.
He was very clearly a person who was probably hundreds of years old, but just had to like rely on getting bathed in this Lazarus Pit to restore his youth over and over again.
Okay.
Kind of like vampire, like a Dracula.
Very Dracula
character.
Like the mother in Tangled.
Yes. Exactly like the mother in Tangled.
Yep.
So to do that in a realistic way, they just make the Ra's al Ghul thing a title that goes from person to person. And then you have this disposable stand-in standard bearer guy so that you can kill him once and he comes back
decoy.
Without having to have a pit.
Right.
God, we almost got pits.
I don't
Dark
know,
Knight
bro.
Rises, though.
Like, is it? All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Like, Ra's al Ghul is Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson is the current head of the League of Shadows.
The current head.
The
But
demon's
Ra's al
head,
Ghul has
which is
not
what
always
Ra's al
been
Ghul means.
him.
Right. What the confusion is Liam Neeson didn't assume it from, was it Watanabe? What's his last name?
Ken Watanabe.
Watanabe. The Ra's al Ghul in the temple.
Right.
When he died, Liam Neeson didn't assume it. It was basically subtly established that he was pretending to be Ra's al Ghul while Liam Neeson is the real Ra's al Ghul.
Okay.
The term
So
Ra's
it's
al
like a
Ghul
decoy.
means the demon's head. It's
But
literally
Ra's
like
al
a
Ghul-
title of prominence within this organization.
All right. So Ra's al Ghul is Kaiser Soze. All right. So anyway, okay. So I get it. I get it.
Or you can say it like the lady, Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul.
Or as we all said it in
your
the
friend.
90s, Raish al Ghul, which I don't know
Raish al
why we
Ghul,
ever
yeah.
said it Raish, and I don't know why it changed. But here
Where
we
was
are.
that? Was that from the cartoon?
The cartoon, he was Raish al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul, right.
Huh.
Either way, he's a very cool character. But we didn't get all the cool.
Yeah, we
Let's
didn't
put it
get
that
all.
way.
And the one thing I am going to complain about, and not just because it's so important to the characters sometimes, and sometimes they just forget. There's not a ton of detective work going
Right.
on in this movie, which doesn't seem like a big deal because it's already 2.5 hours long. Where are we going to do more detective work? But Travis knows that the way that Ra's al Ghul refers to Batman is calling him detective. And we don't get that moment because he's really not a detective yet. Spoiler alert, he never really becomes a detective in this series.
We kind of get some of it in Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's
but
real forced.
He does
though.
it with the help of Lucius. Like,
and
Lucius
fancy
is really
computer
the-
stuff.
Yeah. a lot of
Nonsense
computer
ballistics.
stuff. Yeah.
I
But at
might
least they
like
show
this
him doing
movie
it.
better than The Dark Knight. I think it's
Really?
a better movie. I think I have less to pick at in this movie than I do in Dark Knight.
Well, I think I agree to an extent. Like I love this movie because it's not a Batman movie, it's a Bruce Wayne movie.
Yep.
And I love Dark Knight because that's the villain movie, and it's phenomenal for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
We get good Bruce Wayne stuff, but he's more like a James Bond character in the second movie as opposed to his growth. I enjoy watching his growth. But in the second one, he's just as good. But obviously, he's not competing with
the second
Ledger
one
at all.
The second one is what I will very affectionately call a standard Batman movie. Right? This one is not
Right.
a standard Batman movie.
But then the second one really isn't either because of what they do with Two-Face. Like, the Joker stuff is pretty standard Batman movie. But then,
all
you're
right.
the layers that you get with Dent,
Let's
even
talk
before he becomes hard. We'll talk about it next time.
Save that for the next.
One thing, I'm just gonna throw a little tease out there for everybody listening, and for George and for Travis. What the hell? When we get to The Dark Knight, I am going to tell you a few things about The Dark Knight that you probably don't realize. That I have been telling people since July of 2008, when the movie came out.
Wow.
I can remember one very specific incident with some very specific people where in July of 2008, I brought up a certain point, and it's like it went in one ear and out the other. And God, it's been too many years. And nobody's caught on to this yet. And so we're going to break some new ground that I think might be the whole reason I started this podcast. So
awesome.
Does it involve Kevin McAllister?
We will all be talking about Italy for a little bit while we talk about The Dark Knight.
For real?
For real.
Okay.
Italy?
Oh, I can't wait. Italy, man.
Yeah.
Does this have to do with one of the movies we're doing?
You know how much this surprises me? Zero.
Here, I thought we were just going to watch a movie, see how much George has learned.
No. Nope. Nope. Dan's got to ruin it.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be some movie about a frog.
It's gonna have
an Italian frog.
It's going to have superpowers.
He's really good with the bazooka.
It's going to assist a handicapped man.
Nice coat.
So good. What do you think about the use of the one-liners, the superhero kind of tropey action hero one-liners in a movie that is so like deadpan serious? It's like infused with little bits of like, huh, that's a funny line.
A little bit.
It makes sense because it's David Goyer, and he's known for writing Blade with Wesley Snipes, and it's one of those superhero movies that you watch and you're like, okay, this is clearly not, because it came out around.
It's almost like Scream. It's a movie
Blade?
A movie that knows what it is.
Yes, but it came off the tail end of the 90s superhero movies where everybody was just done. And then it comes out and it's bloody and it's vulgar and it's Wesley fucking Snipes being a total badass.
Yeah.
And you get those one-liners, but they're delivered correctly, and they're just in the right spot where you're just like, okay, yeah, but that was good. Yeah.
I wonder if viewers today, like if you brought this to somebody, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old who'd spent the past 5 years watching Marvel movies on Disney Plus, are they going to look at Batman Begins and be like, ugh, seen it, because the Marvel movies have borrowed so many of the tropes from this movie specifically, like all the mixed identity stuff and all that? Or are they going to be like, wow, this is a really good, they're 12, they won't, but eventually they'll be like, wow, what an excellent execution of things that everybody borrowed in the mid 2000s before it was like the trope everybody was using.
Well, I think this movie is in that group of what Bryan Singer was doing with X-Men. And then you had what Nolan was doing with Batman, and there was one other
Spider-Man.
The Spider-Man, the Raimi Spider-Man. So
the
it was
first
like
two,
those three,
not that third one.
Not that damn third one.
Was the third one the Venom one?
Yeah,
that was terrible.
Yeah, it was a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing the work. So then everybody else is kind of reaping the benefits. And again, I'm going to defend a little bit, like you're saying, oh, well, Marvel and the identity stuff. Like, Marvel characters have been around a long time. So, yes, image-wise or delivery-wise, they might be borrowing.
Well, didn't they steal? I haven't seen Iron Man 3 because Iron Man 2 is enough to spoil me on that franchise. But Iron Man 3, isn't that the one where they are like, oh, hey, this is spoilers for Iron Man 3. This is your big bad. And then like halfway through the movie, it's Ben Kingsley like, oh, you know what? I'm just an actor. I'm not the real bad guy.
They did that, but the reason why they did that, I blame the early stages of the woke bullshit.
But
like,
that's not part of that. I don't even, what's that character's name?
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin. So, but anyway, that character in the comic is not an actor standing in for another bad guy.
No. But he's a stereotypical Asian wise man.
Gotcha. Well,
so
like there you go. So,
trying to get away
we
from
want to
that.
get woke, so let's just steal the Batman thing.
Is that like a parallel or what?
Yeah, so
I've never seen Iron Man 3, but just hearing you guys talk about it, I'm like, whoa.
The Mandarin was a character that came out in the early 50s and like early 60s.
Uh-huh.
So it was very stereotypical Chinese like villain.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Wow, it almost sounds like Marvel movies suck.
They just try to get away with the essence of a character without being stereotypical, I guess.
All right. See, I mean, listen, dude. If you gotta apologize for the movie, ain't that good?
I don't think they apologize. I think they're just trying to be
you're
more
apologizing.
diverse.
But let's get back to
anyway, let's go back to
the
Batman
Bat
Begins.
dude.
I'm just thankful that the bad guys in these movies don't ever put on a cape and cowl and fight good the way that he fights crime. That's also a dig at Iron Man.
I know what that is. I hear you.
Me
but
too.
You're wrong.
And you know what? You know what I thought back a couple episodes ago when I said that Batman is my favorite because he doesn't have superpowers, right? And I think Travis, you said, well, neither does Iron Man, right?
Well, Bruce Wayne is.
Think about this.
I would say Tony Stark is Bruce Wayne.
Let me finish my
ego
thought.
Issue, right?
Take away all of Bruce Wayne's gadgets, and take away all of Tony Stark's gadgets, and what do you have?
Bruce
Batman.
Wayne kicking the hell out of Iron
Batman.
Man is what you have.
Yes, that's what you have. And that's the difference.
No, I know. Well, to be fair, you can't really compare the two because in the comics, Iron Man is like third tier.
Well, they're very similar.
They are. The idea of Bruce Wayne was taken and used as Tony Stark.
Yeah, definitely.
But Tony Stark in the comics was never on the level of Batman. If you want to go that
we've forgotten
route,
how like mediocre Iron Man was.
Yeah,
up to
Iron Man
the
was.
First movie.
If you want to go the true comparison, Moon Knight is Batman.
Moon Knight?
Yeah. Moon Knight, who the show will be coming out very soon. Moon Knight is the Marvel version of Batman.
Okay.
So.
Lame name.
When the moon hits your eye like a big...
Right.
So I bring up
that's the moonlight.
The Iron Man always fighting your copy bad guy thing. It's a Marvel thing, I guess, just overall. Bad Captain America fighting Captain America. Woo.
Yep.
Here's the thing. That's one way to do dichotomy,
zombie
right?
movies.
But in this movie, in Batman Begins, it's really interesting how, and I don't know if this is
whodunit.
I don't know if this is like a. I don't know if this is a flaw or if this is
Giallo.
like
it's an American show.
I don't know if this is like something that.
We need to let him finish. I'm sorry.
Should Batman Begins? Should Nolan wear this as like a badge of honor, or is this a flaw in the script? I don't know. This movie has a very like tit for tat kind of situation going on through the whole movie, right?
There's nice ones of those in this movie.
And it's just
shout out to friend of the show, Katie Holmes.
It reminds me a lot of what they did in Batman '89 with the you made me, well how can I have made you? You made me argument, right? The back and forth. This one it's you burned down my house, so I'm burning down your house. There's just it's a lot of like petty, one-upsmanship. So it's like this discussion of, what is justice versus what is revenge. And at one point, isn't it Ra's al Ghul that says that justice is being done on Bruce because he's burnt down his house? I'm like, no, that's revenge. Katie Holmes already talked about that. Like, it's an interesting conversation happening in the movie, kind of in the subtext, where it's like a one-upsmanship and a little like, hit you back kind of.
See, I never read it that way.
It's weird,
I read when he says that line, like he in the very beginning says what his plan is for Gotham. Has nothing to do with the fact that he burnt their temple down.
Right.
To me, when he says that line, it was almost like and fuck you.
Well,
Right.
that's what I mean.
It was.
It's like it's outside
Yeah.
the plot. It's just it's a really interesting character moment where
it's
he's
not,
like,
it's not justice. It's revenge.
yeah, like he's
But
but he's trying to
reason
dress
why
it
he's
up as
doing
justice.
it
It's
is
interesting.
justice, right? But it did get personal. Let's put it that way. Like
Absolutely.
he had the justification that the League of Shadows constantly uses without personalized, and then he personalized it. It's almost like when Loomis in Scream, when they're like giving away their expose of their whole reason why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like all over the place, and they're talking about Norman Bates and this and that, blah blah blah.
Great scene, love it.
And then Loomis just looks her right in the eye and he goes, "How about this for a motive? Your slut mother was fucking my father." Blah blah blah. And it's like, that was what Ra's al Ghul was doing. He was like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing, and fuck you,
Right?
because you
and
burned my temple
exactly,
down." Right.
and fuck you.
Yeah, I think that's how I always read it.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page, actually.
Yeah, I don't think
bother
we're
me at all.
disagreeing. I think we're just describing the same scene.
Yeah.
We're just not
I like
used
the
to
way-
agreeing on things.
I like the way Travis described it. And not only all this, and
Yeah,
fuck you.
I still think he believes in his justice. I just think he took it personal. So yes, it becomes revenge.
Yep.
But the grand scheme is not revenge.
No, the
in his
grand
mind.
scheme is
No.
their crazy like
He's more like a Thanos mentality, where it's like, I'm just going to bring balance.
Yes.
That's my job.
Yes.
I don't care how many people die. Half you bitches are gone, basically.
Yes.
well,
It's
and
necessary.
the astute
is
Marvel
why.
apologists would be like, well, I mean, they're very similar in motive and tactic. It just happens that they have a slight deviation in, philosophy or whatever. But they really are. In a lot of ways, it is Batman fighting a counter Batman, just without the cape and cowl, which is the part
Well,
where
yeah.
Marvel would have dropped the ball.
But this is where you get caught, my friend.
Oh.
In the comics, Ra's al Ghul has a cape.
But he doesn't have a cowl.
His hair's kind of looks like a cowl. He's got like this devilish hair.
What's a cowl?
He's got like a
The
He's got, like,
mask
the
and then the part that goes on your
multicolored
neck.
goatee. He's got two gray goats, no beard, no mustache.
He's got two
just
gray goats.
two
Somebody
little-
called Brian Wampler.
Two little gray triangles on either side of his mouth.
Okay.
Like, he definitely has a theatrical costume.
Yeah, he does. But he doesn't have pointy bat ears. Because I feel like the
think he has
Marvel Batman
Hold on.
enemy would have bat ears.
He has a
also.
helmet that he wears that has bat ears on it.
Yeah, but you're talking about the comic. We're talking about the movie.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you want to split
And
hairs
what
here.
Dan is saying is that in the movie they didn't make it reverse Batman necessarily, obviously.
Unless it's Man-Bat.
It's Man-Bat. No, it's what it is.
Man-Bat is reverse Batman.
What is reverse Batman?
Nightwing.
I think it's a guy with a gray cape and cowl with slightly different shaped ears. And
No, I think it's Catwoman actually.
Yeah.
you got to inverse the genders too. That's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that holds any water, but I'm also kind of tired of talking about it. So let's move on.
All right.
Maybe we should just avoid trying to throw Marvel under the bus and just stick with this movie.
Ugh.
I enjoy thoroughly throwing Marvel under the bus.
I know.
How
But
about
you guys
that
are completely
Batmobile,
wrong.
dudes?
Oh,
good stuff.
so good.
Do you know that
It's
thing can
different.
really drive like 80 miles an hour or something? Like
That's
that's a
a Batman
legit
Black.
piece of machinery.
Yes, that's one of the
Yeah.
one-liners.
Yeah.
Actually, can we go back to the one-liners real quick? Not all of them were like stereotypical like superhero movie one-liners. There was a couple like I remember watching Christian Bale break character for a half a second when the masks came in and there was a problem with the whatever and they would crack.
Oh, he laughed.
He laughed.
Yeah.
Yes. And when Alfred or whatever his name is, give me his name.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. I'm gonna remember that.
You should.
I should. Yeah, dude. I've seen him in everything. I love the dude.
You're gonna like everything I'm in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when Caine says, "In the meantime, try not to land on your head,"
Mm-hmm.
he can't
He
keep it
laughs.
together. He
Jimmy
laughs.
Fallon's that
It
thing.
is a genuine break of character, and they kept it in, which means that there was this chemistry there, man.
Yeah.
There was just a chemistry that is. It shows, like it's there.
Yeah.
Even in the scenes where they're not breaking character, all the other scenes, there's still that chemistry there.
Well, on the airplane,
so good.
When he says, "That's why I'm glad I gave you all my money," and he's
right,
like,
and he's like, "And you can take the Bentley out or whatever,
yeah.
or the Rolls Royce or
Rolls,
whatever."
yeah.
Plenty of one-liners. When he's got the sonar and the bats are flying, and he's
I
like,
forgot
"What is that?"
about that,
And he's like, "It's backup."
dude.
Like,
I forgot it. Yeah, exactly. It's back up.
If Schwarzenegger delivered that line, it would have been ridiculous.
It's back up.
He's back up. get to the tumbler. He's cool party. Yeah, it would have been so bad. But
God.
every Goyer line in this movie, as corny as some of them are, the one-liners, not the dialogue.
How did I forget
the
about
one-liners?
How did I forget about the device?
The device that's
That,
like
like, called the
iconic
bats.
from Batman Year One. That whole scene is straight out of the comic book.
I totally forgot
Yeah.
about it when I watched it tonight again, and I was like, what is that thing? And I'm like, and all the bats coming. I was like, oh fuck, I forgot.
Sonar.
This is so cool. I get to relive this.
My favorite thing in the entire movie, I think, is the scene where Batman becomes Michael Myers for a minute on the docks, and it's just like
Yes.
pop-up kill.
Yes.
I mean, okay,
Yeah.
pop-up knockout, and then of course the, where are you thing, and then
Yeah.
here, right? Like, oh,
Here.
that's fucking good. And a pretty good I'm Batman. If we're judging Batman's based on the delivery of their I'm Batman line, this is probably the second best one.
And I think it was best because it was subdued.
It was subdued. My one complaint about this movie is the fluctuating Batman voice. Like I love the Conroy voice from the animated series, but I also love the Michael Keaton version. This version, I like when he's like angry and trying to become like the Knight, and he's like, "Where are they?" Like
the shouty
in this movie where he's like, "Swear to me," like all that. It works, but when
where are they? That's the next one. Yeah.
When he's talking, like at the very end when he's talking to Rachel, he's still got that whisper, and that more Michael Keaton version. And I wish he would have done that more, like when he talks to Gordon in the office before he even gets the.
I was gonna bring that up,
and he's like,
because there's a thing.
It's I love that.
There's a thing about that. The now we're two. Because of the training, and he's supposed to like become invisible, right? He's now trained to be invisible, right? If you listen to it, I was listening to it on like a sound bar or whatever, but the audio, his voice comes through directly in front, and then when he says now we're two, the audio comes from like
the left side
behind you.
Yeah.
Like he's way further away than he should be, physically possible. But he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh shit, he's over here. I love the way they did that.
The cool thing about that scene is,
I wish I could remember seeing that in theaters. Like, I wish I would have experienced that again now in theaters, because that would have been so good.
That Dolby surround sound.
Yeah, that would have been so good.
All the stuff in this movie in a theater was phenomenal. But the character interaction between them two, Gordon and Wayne, like I remember I don't think you ever watched the cartoon?
A little bit, not a lot. Not religiously. I was too young.
Someone like me who had lived through the trials and tribulations of this character almost in real time. Like I didn't live through the 60s Batman, but I saw the ebb and flow, the ups and downs of this character, and to the point where it was just dead. And then when the Batman animated series came out, that became the pinnacle. That became what everybody thought the movies should be. People are like, why aren't they making this into a movie? Why does it have to be a cartoon? And the relationship between him and Gordon, like there's a scene in the cartoon where Gordon is standing in his office and he's got a mug of coffee and he's just standing in his office, and all the people working in the police station see him standing in there like, what's Gordon doing? He's not doing anything. We got this going on, and he's just standing there. And then they cut to inside the office, and he's talking out the window.
Right.
And then it cuts to the outside, and Batman's standing on the ledge.
Right.
And you see just his white eyes, and the cape is like the black flutter of the cape.
Mm-hmm.
and they're dealing with the case. They're talking about the case.
Right.
And to me, Nolan captured that.
He nailed it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
And he also nailed the whole fatherly relationship, the father-son relationship between them two, which the cartoon nailed. And every other movie never really gave Gordon that level of importance.
Yeah.
He was kind of a buffoon in some of the movies.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, totally. Especially, it's weird coming off the 60s TV show where Gordon was so good.
Yeah.
And then in the 89, and then they never captured that character again until they gave it to the best actor of his generation. And then he was like, hey, I got this.
And he's not even really Commissioner Gordon yet. So,
yeah,
that's a whole different animal.
He's sergeant or lieutenant or...
Yeah, he's sergeant, then he's lieutenant. Yeah, if you ever read the old Frank Miller stuff, the Year One stuff that this is based on, this is heavily drawn from a comic, I guess a mini-series is how you would describe it? Like,
a mini-series.
Now I know it as a graphic novel, but when it came out in the early 90s or late 80s, it was just like, 4-shot.
Which I own. They're pretty good.
I'm sure you do.
It's real good, George. You got to read it. That should be some homework.
If it's only 4 issues, I will.
Yeah, it's 4 issues.
I tried to read Walking Dead.
I have the trade.
So much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So much to read.
I have the trade paperback. I'll let you borrow it.
Cool.
You said Year One, right?
Yeah, Year One. And the Killing Joke while you're at it. Why not? Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's real short. I mean, you could get through it in like a half hour. But it's so good and kind of fucked up, which is nice.
That's the first comic book I ever read was Killing Joke.
It explains a lot.
Yeah. I was like, wow, what have I been missing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And ever since.
Now
you have a basement full of comic books.
Basement full.
Yep. It's shaped you, dude.
Yeah.
It's that's important, bro.
But I don't read them as much as I should. Like I do, I learn about them, but I don't actually sit and read. I probably should. I'm more or less like with the shows, even with the Disney Plus shows with Boba Fett and stuff. Like they'll show me something in the show, and I'm like, that looks familiar, but I'm not really sure why. And I go right to Google, figure out why this person's important, and then I read about them. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So that's what I do with a lot of comic book stuff now. When someone gets introduced in the show or in a movie, I'm like, I know that character. I have 5 covers with him on it, but I have no idea what the backstory is that would pertain to this movie. And then when you look it up, you're like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. Same with DC. See, I'm a both guy.
Why not both? Hooray!
Why not both?
So one thing I want to bring up before, because I feel like we're winding down on this movie. When they made this movie, George, I don't know if you're aware because you were but a child.
Mm-hmm.
There really wasn't a guarantee that there was a market for Batman movies. So there really isn't a guarantee that you're going to get Batman Begins 2. We just, the company had no idea what the market was going to do with it. And really, the market didn't do that much with it. Like, they're lucky they got to make The Dark Knight because it just didn't blow up the world like it should have. Yeah, it didn't make a ton of money. It did okay. But it wasn't like The Dark Knight when it like changed everything.
I don't think they were ready. I don't think people were ready for this movie, so they didn't know how to take it.
But here's what's awesome about the end of this movie. If they never make Batman Begins 2, they never make The Dark Knight, you could watch 89 right after this movie and be like, close enough.
Nah.
Yeah, man. They lead into each other a little bit. Now you just have to ignore the fact, or you have to give credit to Gordon that he's a hell of an actor around the other cops because he pretends like he doesn't know anything about this Batman guy.
Right.
But other than that, they lead into each other pretty well, which is an interesting thing to do.
I can't imagine a world where The Dark Knight doesn't exist.
I was saying to George, because I got here right when the movie was ending, and I'm like, it brought me back. It kind of, when I was watching at home, it was the same thing. That scene on the rooftop, and I just remembered the crowd. and they were like,
when they were talking about this psycho guy.
Yeah, when he's like, take this guy
from
the
Arkham
theatrics.
Yeah, exactly.
And the moment I remember being in the theater, and he says, take this guy, double murder, and a feel for the theatrics or whatever. And then they show the baggie with the card, and he didn't even flip the card over yet.
Yeah,
people just knew it was a playing card, and you hear like the geeks are going, oh.
I got chills. Like I just
and then they flip it over.
Oh, what a way to set it up.
Yeah. And then we flipped it over. That place turned into like these end game like reaction videos. Like people were just like bonkers because they looked at it as, oh, this is where they're going. Of course, not knowing that the studio wasn't ready to make a second movie yet.
How did that even get in the movie? If they're like not sure if they're going to make a second one.
It was like fan service. Yeah.
Yeah, and it leads right into 89. So I mean, I think they did that with a little bit of. I think they did that on purpose. Like it's Batman Begins. It's a prequel. And where does it go from here? Well, hopefully it goes to a part 2, but if not, like, it could
that just go to 89. Yeah.
That other one.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'm so glad they didn't do that.
I'm so glad. Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad that The Dark Knight exists.
Well, should we tell George what he's watching next week, Travis? He probably thinks he has a really good idea of what's up next.
What is he watching next week?
I think you told me last week what I was watching this week.
What did we tell you?
I thought you told me we were watching the whole trilogy.
We are.
Unless you were joking.
We are. But we have such sights to show you.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to watch a movie.
Dude, you're killing me.
All right. So you think we're going to watch The Dark Knight, we're not.
I thought
we're going to meander a little bit through the
There's no meandering.
No meandering? Okay.
No.
We're going to watch a movie
Okay.
that we have mentioned before.
Okay.
And it had a lot of influence on what we're going to watch.
Okay.
So we're going to watch the movie Heat.
Okay.
Do you know anything about Heat?
Nope.
No. You haven't heard of it?
No.
You don't know who's in it?
No.
Do we talk about that, Dan, or we
just tell him how long it is, so he makes sure to watch it early enough that we don't have to record this after midnight.
It's over 2 hours.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Michael Mann, who you don't know who that is, but
didn't we watch a Michael Mann movie already?
We talked about watching Manhunter, but we never did.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, we ought to watch Manhunter too, but not this week. This week we're watching Heat.
Right. Watching Heat.
Heat.
Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod or on Twitter and Instagram at remedialfilmpod. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're also on every podcatcher you can think of. If you're listening to this on a podcatcher, we're also on YouTube. So either way, hit us up next week for Heat.
From what year? So I can find the...
It's like
find it.
2000?
No.
98? 98, I think.
Earlier than that. It had to...
Really?
I'm going to say 94. I'm going to guess.
94? Why am I thinking 98?
95.
95, okay.
All right.
That was a big year, 95.
Yeah.
It was the year of the rats,
when Bill Gates came out with the new version of Windows.
Yeah.
It was around for a while.
No, 95 was a good movie year. I think that's when Twister came out, right?
Yeah, that was around then. Yeah, and Apollo 13 was soon after.
Apollo 13.
Apollo 13.
That was like 96. 95 to 96 was a big...
I think 7 came out in 97.
Yeah.
No, that came out in 95, didn't it?
I don't know. They have a website. You can look all these up.
Yeah. I remember that being a big year.
7 was 95 as well. So there you go.
Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects was 95?
Mm-hmm.
Did we reference The Usual Suspects at least 3 times this episode?
Yes.
It's a great movie.
And Forrest Gump, I believe.
Shut up.
Heck of a year, man.
Yeah, 95 was a big year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need another one of those is what we need.
Yeah.
Another year like 95.
Any movies would be great. Although I am very excited for the new Batman movie.
Yeah,
I'm not watching any trailers. I'm not reading any articles. I'm going in blind, and I hope I like it.
Well, you better not go in blind. You're not going to be able to see the movie.
Be able to hear it anyway. Well, don't worry. If you're blind, you can still listen to our podcast.
That's true.
Doesn't impede. Just you're getting the same experience as everyone else, which is
true.
the great thing about podcasts.
You can watch our podcast.
Yep. You can listen to our podcast, just like everybody else in the world.